All right, so now we are picking up from where we left off in the last video. So we're still in section 1.3. So now we're looking at example 2, which is more of the same stuff. But now the problems are going to be a little bit more involved. There's a little bit more layers to it. So we just got to be really careful in how we break it down step by step. So now this first one, so we got 2 plus a negative 10 plus 8, and the negative 10 plus 8 is in parentheses. So we're going to want to focus on that part first. So now we're going to ask our question. What are we really going to be doing? We got a negative 10 plus 8. So are we adding those or are we subtracting those? Now remember, if the signs are different, we have to subtract. So in this case, we're subtracting those. And so now we'll bring down the 2 plus, and let's see what we get. So negative 10 plus 8, we got to subtract them. So 10 minus 8 is 2. Is it positive 2 or negative 2? And it better be negative. Now, because the answer is negative, I would recommend you keep those parentheses around it just to keep things separate. So you can see that there's a plus sign in front of it. So if you had the plus minus, it just gets messy and they get blurred together sometimes. So that's why those parentheses are important around negative answers. Positive ones, not so much, because you don't need a plus sign in front of a positive number. Okay, so we got 2 plus a negative 2. So now if we look at what we're doing with those, signs are different, and we're adding. So technically we are subtracting. So we want to subtract those as well. And so now 2 minus 2, well, that's 0. Well, that was no fun. But sometimes that happens. 0 is an answer sometimes. So just because you get it doesn't mean it's wrong. Excuse me. All right, let's try another one. So now we got a lot of stuff going on here. So we got 6 plus the negative 4. We got the plus 8. We got the plus negative 11. Where do we begin? Well, the rule of thumb with these is to work your way from left to right. Now, there is some flexibility when it's all addition. So you can kind of mix and match stuff when it's all addition. But when there's lots of operations in there, which we're going to see later, you're going to want to go from left to right. So now in this case, we can say, okay, well, let me group together these two, and I'll group together these two. That's okay to do. All right, so now the first two signs are different. We know we got to subtract. Signs are different. We know we got to subtract. So now that's going to give you what? 6 plus the negative 4. If we subtract, we get 2, and it better be positive. You got it. And then 8 plus the negative 11. Okay, so we got to subtract those. 11 minus 8 is 3. And is it positive 3 or negative 3? Well, the 11's bigger, so it better be a negative 3. So there's the first step. That's a plus. All right, so now we have that part of it. So now the last bit is to combine these two. And what are we doing with those? You got it. We are going to subtract those. And so better end up with a negative 1. So that's one way you could have done this problem. Now, because we got a little bit of time, I'm going to show you another way that we could have grouped them. So I'll just rewrite the problem. Now, in this case, what if we group together the positive numbers and we group together the negative numbers? Because when they're the same sign, we know we can add them. Most people like to add versus subtract. So that would be another way you could have done this problem. So if we would have grouped together these two and those two, what does that give you? Well, 6 and 8, well, that's going to be 14. Negative 4 and negative 11. So again, they have the same sign, so we got to add. So add and add. So you should have gotten negative 15 when you added those. All right, so definitely different than the previous. But now what's the last step? If we combine these two, what are we doing? Adding or subtracting? You got it. We got to subtract. So in this case, you do get the same answer, negative 1. So it doesn't matter when it's all addition, you can mix and match stuff. But if you're not sure, left to right. And we're going to reinforce that as we go. All right, let's try a couple more that are a little bit bigger numbers. And we'll see that the rules still apply, even though they're big. So, all right. Now there's only 3 numbers we're combining by addition in this one. These 2 are both negative. So we like negatives. Well, some people do. But in this case we do because we can add those together. So now you can do stuff on scratch paper off to the side. So if we say 179 and we add 61 to that, we get a 0, carry a 1. 8 and 6 is 14, carry a 1. So 240. But don't forget the sign. So the sign would tell you it's negative 240 plus 8926. All right, so there's step 1. Now, what do we do with those 2? Add them or subtract them? You got it. We got to subtract. Now again, let's do it off to the side. So 8926, 240, we want to subtract. So 6 minus 0 is 6. Well, we got 2 minus 4, so we're going to have to borrow. So make this an 8, make this a 12. 12 minus 4 better be 8. All right, and now we got 8 minus 2, which is 6, and then we can bring down the 8. So 86, 86. Now, is it a positive 86, 86 or a negative? Well, that is definitely a lot bigger. 89, 26 is a lot bigger positive number, so it's going to be a positive answer. All right. Going to town, aren't we? Okay, let's try the last one. Ooh, this is the yucky one. Well, how can we make it easier for ourselves? We just did it up above. Let's group together the positives. Let's group together the negatives. That makes life a lot easier. So we'll group those, and we'll group those. So let's add them down here. So we got 8001, 5421, 22413. Now those were both positive, so we know that's going to be a positive answer. And now we got these 2 negative numbers. Ooh, we got a really big one here. So let's be careful. You want to make sure all your place values line up when you're adding or subtracting. So 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 8, 9, 1, 2, 5, 6. And we do want to add them because they're both negative. All right, so 9 and 6 is 15, carry a 1. 9 and 5 is 14, carry a 1. 6 and 2 is 8. 5, 4, 4, 3. And it should be negative. All right, so there's the first step, which is basically 2 steps. So we got it broken down a little bit more, and now the last step is to combine those 2. They're different signs, so we got to subtract them. And I forgot to write in, we want to add. All right, so subtracting these, well, let's see what we can do. Well, actually, I'm going to be lazy and just keep that number right there. So I'm going to put the 13,422 right below it. And then we want to subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3. 4 minus 2 is 2. 8 minus 4 is 4. 5 minus 3 is 2. 4 minus 1 is 3. Bring down the 4. Bring down the 3. The last thing we don't want to forget is the sign. Is it positive or is it negative? Well, we got a really big negative number compared to a fairly large positive number, but this is a lot bigger. So we better end up with a negative answer. So I'll squeeze it in up here. 3, 4, 3, 2, 4, 2, 3. If you want to put the commas in there, great. Not the end of the world if you don't, though. All right. So there's your answer for that one. And that wraps up 1.3. So there's your first assignment of material all said and done. So now you should be able to do the homework with no problems, and then once you're done with that, we can start looking at the next stuff. Alrighty, see you in the next video.